What's up, everybody? As Dylan's yawning, the Phillies have gotten to 10,000 wins as a franchise. We're going to talk about the Phillies today. We'll get into the Sixers and the Eagles later in the show, and we're going to talk about the documentary that nobody knew they needed to see, but gets to see. Trending the AM starts in 30 seconds.
Holding, gets around in front. Embiid,
and Philadelphia has it.
And good morning, everybody. Welcome to Trending in the AM right here on DSM Media Live. Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, you know the drill. Like, retweet, share on all the different social media platforms, wherever you're watching. If you would like to get involved with the show, best place to do that is on the YouTube page. You do us a favor, you hit the like button, you hit the subscribe button if you'd like. Drop your comments in the comment section. All those steps help us build the algorithm, help us continue to grow the DSM Media channel and brand. I am your host, Phil Stifle, at Beard of Knowledge on Twitter. I got my main man, Dylan Davis, Dylan JD98, sitting next to me today. We got a lot of topics to get through today because we want to talk Phillies. Obviously, two big wins this week. We didn't get to talk Phillies yesterday with our guest, Neil Coulong. Great guy. Again, shout out to him. Thank you for joining us yesterday. We spent a lot of time talking football, so we're going to get into Phillies today. Obviously, their 10,000th win as a franchise. The last of the original 8 finally get to 10,000 wins. We're going to talk Sixers, schedule drop, some other odds and ends and news and notes from the Sixers. We're going to get to Eagles. Some cuts have been made. A trade. We didn't even get to address the JJaw trade yesterday, so we got to address that. In Howie we trust. And, of course, the documentary that no one knew they needed to see dropped a couple days ago on Netflix. I didn't even know they were making it. So we're going to get into that. So, Dylan, good morning. How you doing today?
I'm good, Phil.
You're yawning there.
I was going to say, to be fair, I was looking down on Twitter waiting for the show to come up so I could share it out like a good co-host I am. But there's a slight delay, so I didn't know you hit live yet because it didn't pop up yet. So I'm mid-yawn while you're live, and I'm like, oh, boy, we're live.
You do know excuses are like assholes. Everybody's got them.
That's true, but I'm just telling you what the excuse is today.
Oh, so every day you got to have a new excuse, right?
There might be one. There might be a plausible excuse from time to time, like a delay on social media.
Coffee. You get a big cup, you fill it up with coffee, and that's how you stop the yawning.
Is it? I'm not a big coffee guy, so that's probably not.
I drink coffee out of necessity, not because I actually like it. So
okay.
I don't think I would
probably throw some Red Bull in a cup, maybe, and
man, you'd see this.
This
is my face going like this on the screen. Yeah. I started drinking Red Bulls. I think
that's they're doing really good.
I think Jason does the monsters or one of those on the air all the time. He's cracking them open every single morning. All right, let's get to it here. Phillies win last night 11-4. They're finally, I think it's hilarious. They're the final of the original 8 NL teams to get to 10,000 wins. And I know you're a young buck, but you remember back when they got their 10,000th loss. What was it, like 2007, I believe it was?
Yeah.
I mean, you were a young buck, but you might vaguely remember it. It was a big deal. They were promoting it. They were talking about it. Everything was happening, and nobody's talking about them finally getting to 10,000 wins.
Nah.
And I think it's a big deal. They're the last team. They're the only of the original 8 teams with an under 500 winning percentage. But I don't know why. I feel so great knowing that they finally got to 10,000 wins. I don't know why I'm so hyped about it. I shouldn't be. I shouldn't care. Nobody seems to care, but I do.
Is it bad that I don't really care? I don't know, man. Like it's cool. Don't get me wrong. And it shows the history of the franchise. Like you've been around long enough to not only lose 10,000 games, but win 10,000 games now at this point. Like it's cool. I'm not popping any champagne bottles, getting overly excited. I was more focused on this Reds win. But I don't know. And like, I remember the time period when they lost the 10,000 game. I don't remember the moment. Like, I don't remember where I was.
I remember I was a big Preston and Steve fan, the morning radio show. I mean, I've always been a fan of them. And they did like dropping 10,000 marbles down like the art museum steps for it. There's no celebration for 10,000 wins, just for the losses.
I don't know. Maybe it's still cooler to talk about the negative than the positive, I guess. So at the time, it was probably this big thing that holy crap, this organization has lost 10,000 games to this point. The fact that I'm not gonna lie, the fact that it took 15 more years to eclipse the 10,000 win mark or get to the 10,000 win mark than from the time you lost 10,000 games, that is I don't know. That's not a great sign for your franchise as a whole.
They are the losingest franchise in professional sports history of all sports.
Nice. Did not know that. Very nice. So,
right, so let's talk
we
about
we thought we've had it bad over the last decade of playoff-less baseball. This goes long before
the 1800s. This is dating back to the 19th century. They've been a bad franchise.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
I know it's history and I know it's part of the franchise. That's irrelevant to me. Are you joking? Like, we're talking about what they did in 1904 when dudes were probably like smoking cigars and drinking whiskey an hour before they got to the plate. Like, are you joking?
I think they wore like suit ties and stuff like that back then, probably.
Like, are we talking like I don't even know if this is a thing at this point. We're talking pre-Babe Ruth.
Yeah,
like we're talking
pre-Babe Ruth,
pre-Bambino. Like, this is how far it goes. So excuse me if I don't include any of those losses in the Phillies 10,000 plus and the losing his franchise.
Yeah, but see, Mark checking in. He had a run to work. He was going to join.
I know.
Jason. I had a perfect joke, Dylan, for Mark. He was probably at their first loss. I was all set up to say it. I was going to ask him what it was like to be at their first loss and first win ever.
Mark, I would just like to point out how that joke did not come from me or any of the younger guys at TSM. It came from your co-host here on the show. And I'm just throwing that one in the ring.
All right, let's get into the Phillies game last night, okay? Big win last night. Actually, we kind of looped both wins so far against the Reds into the equation. 11-4 last night, 4-3 on Monday night against the Cincinnati Reds. And before we even get into like the specifics of the game, coming off of 2 losses, which in my opinion weren't as bad as other people put them to be, the Phillies have come back and instantly rebounded by winning 2 straight games against teams that they're supposed to win against. You know, it's not like the old Phillies come out after 2 tough losses to the Mets and probably win only one of the first 2, or maybe they lose 2 more. They let it snowball out of effect. You know, this Phillies team instantly flipped the script, said, let's forget about that, move on. They're still missing Kyle Schwarber, their leader. You know, there's reasons for them to give up or have a bad stretch, but this team is a different team than it used to be, and they are being capable of instantly turning the page and not letting some negative turn into something much worse.
I'm glad you started with this because this is literally my favorite part about this Phillies team this year and this Phillies team of recent. It's their way of being able to forget about what just happened, having that short memory and bouncing, moving forward to the next series and being able to take advantage of a bad team. And we talk about this all the time, man. Like we get really upset here, especially in a playoff race, when they drop a game to a bad team, right? Like when they lost that game to the Marlins, no one was overly upset. They won the series. They were coming off a sweep, but it was like, damn, like it would have been nice to sweep them. Look at what the Padres are doing right now, dropping 2 of the first 3 to the Marlins with that line. Like, good teams lose to bad teams all the time, and this Phillies team has found a way to just kind of mow over these lesser talented teams in the Pirates, in the Nationals, in the Marlins, in the Reds, and it's really impressive. And to have that short memory about what happened in New York, and I agree with you. I'm glad we're on the same page there as well. That series, it sucks that they lost it, and they really had a chance on Saturday night to take the first 2 games of that series. It sucked to see the way the series went down, but it wasn't as bad as people made it seem. It was playoff atmosphere all weekend long, and then Wheeler didn't have his stuff. You mentioned it. You didn't have Schwarber. You didn't have Bryce still. So when the Phillies are fully healthy, let's re-examine where they're at versus the Mets head-to-head. But yes.
Like if you would have said before the series you're going up against Scherzer and DeGrom and Bassett, because let's not take anything away from Bassett. He's an excellent pitcher. And you would have said before the series that they were going to go 1-2. You'd be like, all right, I'll take that. because of the situation they were in. And
it was
it's in
just
New
the
York.
overall landscape. Like the way Sunday ended was a bad taste. To get your behind whooped and get shut out again, shut out 3 of your last 4 games, losing that Marlins series or losing the last game of the Marlins series, excuse me. Like it just left a bad taste. And it's like, okay, let's see if it snowballs out of control. Still missing Schwarber. Hell, I know were they losing that game last night? Marsh goes down at a very nasty looking play at the center field wall. Hopefully he's okay. But now you're down another guy, and they just put their head down and keep scoring against a bad team.
And we could dive right into last night's game too, more specifically, which we'll get to Marsh in a second. Kyle Gibson gave up a couple home runs early.
Yeah.
Kyle Gibson is a guy that snowballs out of control as well. He gives up 2 home runs. Normally, I was sitting there watching with my delivery driver at the pizza shop that early part of the game, and he's not a huge baseball fan. He's like, oh man, another home run. I'm like, dude, this is Kyle Gibson. That means he's gonna end up giving up 7 or 8 runs tonight. It's Kyle Gibson's either 8 innings, 1 run, or 1 inning, 8 runs. You know what I mean? And Kyle Gibson was able to buckle down, end up striking out 11 guys through whatever 7 or 8 innings or 6 innings I think he went last night. That's another sign that this team has a mental thing that they're not in a bad way, in a good way, that they are able to block out the negative and continue to push forward at all times. And that's what you want out of your baseball team.
Yeah. Gibson had a great start last night. And that inning, those back-to-back home runs were kind of just like a blip in the radar, because before that, I was literally about to text George Ryder and be like, Gibson's dealing. And then next thing you know, hung a curveball, gives up another one. Marsh gets hurt, and they're down 2 runs, and I'm like, or they're down a run. I'm like, oh, wow, no, this is great. But then what's he do? He reels it back in. And like you said, him K-ing 11 in 6 or so innings is absurd. He's just not that type of pitcher, at least anymore, to what he used to be. He tied his career high. And it was really nice to see. And just seeing how Syndergaard threw the night before and now seeing what he was able to do. And I know they talked about it on the postgame show a lot last night on NBC Sports Philly, but the way he used his off-speed pitches the way he used the slider and the curveball is something he doesn't do often. Same thing you saw Syndergaard do the night before. Caleb Cotham is working some sort of magic with these back end of the rotation guys, and it's really getting the best out of them at the moment.
You mentioned Syndergaard the other night and Gibson last night. You know what else impresses me about how they both play? Because let's be honest, again, Syndergaard is what he is. You know, he's a 4th guy in a rotation. I still love having him as part of this team. And he hasn't lost yet as a Phillies pitcher. But between the last 2 nights, Syndergaard and Gibson, your back end of your rotation, so to speak, you've got Suarez as your 3rd pitcher on this team. So your back end guys both got you wins when they should have. Neither of them walked a single batter the last 2 nights. That is 13 innings, 0 walks, 13 innings and some change, because I think Syndergaard started the 8th inning, which I mean, people aren't talking enough about how Syndergaard got into the 8th inning with less than 80 pitches. And honestly, if the Phillies had a bigger lead, Syndergaard probably gets a longer leash there in that 8th inning. But he gives up that solo home run in the 8th. Thompson pulls him, which was rightfully so, because that's why you've got Robertson and Sir Anthony to shut the door in a game. But not enough is being spoken about how well they're controlled. I mean, everybody talked about all the hits he gave up his first couple games, Noah Syndergaard. Our starters have given up 13 hits and no walks in the last 13 innings plus pitched. That's really damn well for your 4th and 5th starter.
It's huge, and it's also situational, right? Because last night, up until the 9th inning, when Nelson gave up like a broken bat hit or whatever, and they scored a run, the Reds had 2 runners in scoring position all of last night through 8 innings. That's humongous. I know he gave up 2 long balls, and they ended up scoring 3 runs off of them. But think about, it's hard to say if that doesn't happen, but really, if that doesn't happen, he damn near pitches another close to perfect, great game again, because only allowing a bad team, that's the thing. When you play a bad team, you cannot give them any hope, any momentum, any thought that they can hang around in this game with you. And how do you allow that to happen against a bad team? When they get base runners on early, when they're putting you in high stress situations early in the game, 2nd and 3rd, bases loaded, 1st and 3rd, whatever it is, and you don't allow that, and they have to hit the long ball to beat you, it's not going to happen. And not only did they hit the long ball last night, the Phillies, after going 6 straight games with no home runs, break out with 5 home runs last night. I think it was 5, right? Reese had 2.
5,
Yeah.
It was 5.
Stubbs hit one late.
You were stealing my thunder. Then you made me question it for a second there. No. Yeah, it's 5. Yeah, I forgot about Derek Hall hitting a home run.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's what I wanted to bring up. Rhys Hoskins. I saw somebody tweeted. I don't know which account it was, but he's on pace for 35 home runs, about 85, 90 RBIs. He's hitting close to 260. He's got about an 840, OPS. I mean, Rhys Hoskins, I don't know whether to say he's one of the most underappreciated players on this team or the most streaky player on this team. Because, again, last night, his box score last night, 3 for 6, 2 runs, 5 RBIs. You get that probably 10 times a year from Rhys Hoskins. But then you also have 10 straight games of 0 for 5 with 3 strikeouts from Rhys Hoskins. I don't know what to think of Rhys Hoskins because, again, we win last night because of Rhys. I know a lot of people contributed, but Rhys Hoskins, in my opinion, was the star of the game, offensively speaking. I just don't know what to do. And this person, I forget which, it was one of the maybe podcast network people out there, talking about him and whether they should extend him in the offseason because of how important he is to the team. And it's like, is the bad Rhys Hoskins worth it for the good Rhys Hoskins? Because when Rhys Hoskins is good, he's better than good. He's great. And it's kind of crazy to think about Rhys Hoskins like that.
Well, I just think it's funny to look back on the last 2 seasons specifically and talk about the streakiness and the roller coaster ride and the not making the playoffs. And Rhys was a major part of that team, right? Why things are a little bit different this year because you've brought in other pieces in a college. And again, these guys are streaky as well, but when there's a lot more of them, it helps even out the playing field throughout the whole season in terms of someone being hot, someone being cold. But he's not underappreciated, but he's not like, I feel like he's almost fairly even. Like, because there are people I've seen on social media. Like, I remember when some people were talking about, I think you brought it. We discussed it, Phil, about possibly trading Hoskins because he's one of your biggest trade chips. And at the end of the day, we said we probably wouldn't do it, but it's one of the options on the table. And there are people out there like, you're crazy, blah, blah. Well, why? Like, you're crazy for wanting to trade Rhys Hoskins. Like, I don't think that's overly dramatic, but when you see what he's able to do on these runs, not to mention what he brings to the clubhouse, it's hard to properly rate him where he should be. At the end of the day, you're right. He's having a tremendous, if he hits for 30 plus to 35 home runs, over 80 RBIs, hits for over an 840 OPS, hits for over 250, 255. How the hell can you not want to bring him back in the middle of this lineup?
Here, I want to read you something here. So I got his career statistics up, and I'm really only focusing on 3 years because of 2020 was such a short season, and last year he missed time. He only had 107 games last year, but in 18, his first full year, he was 34-96. He had an 850 OPS. 2019, 160 games, 29-85, 819 OPS. Last year, even in 107 games last year, 27-71, 864 OPS. Literally, for as inconsistent as he's at, he has gone between 830 and 860 in his OPS every single year. And he averages, if you do it over 160 games, 35 home runs and 90 RBIs. For as inconsistent as he is, he ends up at the same spot every single year.
So can I pose a question here? Like, the word is inconsistent, and we use it all the time with this team and players on this team, and it's not necessarily wrong, but we're sitting here talking about his overall numbers, right, throughout the courses of a season. Is it being inconsistent, or is it just a full 162 game regular season baseball schedule that kind of just plays out the way it does? Like, we highlight Phillies.
Yeah.
I don't pay attention to what some of the Braves are doing. Like, I know Austin Riley's having a great year, but like Ronald Acuna Jr., he could be our Braves fans sitting here calling someone like that or a Matt Olson inconsistent, or is it just the toll a long season and examining every day takes on you?
I think that's a really, really excellent point there. It really isn't.
It's
You
tough.
do got to look at the big picture. And I think in previous years, say like 18 or 19, compared to now, this is a different team. And his
Mhm.
cold streaks can be big picture managed
Right.
because you got Bryce Harper, normally, Schwarber, Castellanos, who I know everybody was jumping on him because he was cold in that method
Hey,
theory. But
big game
come
last
on,
night.
big game last night for Nick Castellanos. Me and Jason were disagreeing on Monday, I believe it was, because Nick Castellanos, he was saying was cold again because he struck out at the end of the game against Edwin Diaz, I think
Oh,
it was
yeah.
Saturday night.
Yeah.
Dude, it was Edwin Diaz.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I think 97% of baseball strike out against Edwin Diaz, in that situation. But you look at it, I think you make a great point that you have to look at the whole season. In 2018, this Phillies team was dreck. So his hot to cold streaks were much more amplified.
Right.
Now on a good team like we are right now, where we're winning games,
Right.
I don't want to say you can mask it. You can accept it because of the ebbs and flows of a long season, of
Right. Exactly.
having a better team around him and stuff like that.
100%. You're just riding the wave at this point. But no, it's funny, man. And just to bring up Nick real quick, last night
Absolutely.
was such a big game for him because not only did he hit for power, he hit that home run last night, but he went 3 for 5, and his other 2 hits were doubles into the gap. Like, that was so nice to see. And again, I'm not a hitting coach. I'm no baseball expert, but if you just watch and examine Nick Castellanos in the batter's box this year when he's been off, and we all know the slider low and away, right? Get how many times he's K'd on that this year. But if you watch him, dude, his head, when he's off, his head's never down. He's never keeping his head down on the ball. His head's always moving. It's always up here. He's off balance. He's trying to like push his body to the baseball. He's trying to go to the baseball, not let the baseball come to him. When you watch last night's game, that home run was picture perfect when they showed the replay. Shoulder dropped, head down, extension, bang, see you later, right? I'm watching him, and when he K's, or some of his ugly swings, you've seen it, the helmet almost pops up, one-handed swing, right? His head starts here and then ends up like up here in the middle of his swing. It's ugly. So I don't know what they have to do to permanently or almost permanently adjust that, because that's not right. Like, you don't see Bryce Harper doing that every 7 at-bats the way you kind of see Nick doing it. But if last night's any indicator, hopefully things are again on the uprise for him.
So first off, your spot. That's excellent. Are you a hitting coach? Maybe maybe
No,
the Phillies
I'm
can
not.
hire you
I'm
to be a
not.
hitting
But
coach.
I mean, my phone's open if they're anyone's
Yeah,
hiring.
exactly. Yeah, I expect free tickets if you become the Phillies hitting coach.
You'll catch me on like the 8-year-old T-ball team.
I remember reading an article like a month and a half ago, and it wasn't by like Ken Rosenthal or Jason Stark.
Mhm.
It was a step down from them. So I don't know if this source was accurate or not, but they were talking about how Nick Castellanos doesn't like to be coached by hitting coaches, and he rather go by.
If there's
feel
anybody that seems that way, it's him.
out. Yeah, exactly. So I don't know if that's true or not. But if it is, then it's not up to the Phillies to figure it out. He's got to push through. I mean, 2 doubles last night. I expected Nick Castellanos to have 45 doubles this year.
I know.
He had 25 doubles on the season. You know what I mean? So the home run's great. Any power hitter sometimes walks into a ball like that and can crush it. It's those doubles that impressed me last night, because the way he was able to drive the ball into the gaps and stuff like that. That is what I want to see, because Nick Castellanos is not a Kyle Schwarber type home run hitter. He will hit a lot of home runs because he's big, strong, physical, but he doesn't have that high arcing, launch a ball into the night kind of home run. It's just his home runs are doubles that just stay up in the air just a little bit longer than the double.
Right.
You know what I mean?
He has a few,
doubles,
right?
Yeah. But those doubles are what I want to see, because that means that Nick Castellanos is maybe turning a corner. So I thought that was way bigger, in my opinion, than the home runs last night.
Yeah, no, it shows when he's on the ball as well. And I believe the first one went to right center field. I could be wrong, but I believe he took it where it was pitched. He took it the opposite way into that gap. And that's another thing to kind of just a little bit of proof that he's on the ball at the moment. And that's incredibly huge. You bring out the power numbers. Listen, man, I didn't expect him to hit 34, 35 home runs like he did in Cincinnati last year because it's really not what he does. Last year was kind of a outlier for that.
Mhm.
But, I mean, I was kind of, 20, 21, something like that, and he just hit his 11th, I think, last night. Like, he's
Yep.
definitely not on pace to crack 20. I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
He's probably not on
he's
pace to crack like
he's
16.
barely on pace to hit 80 RBIs. I
I
was
know.
expecting a season of 45 doubles, 20, 25 home runs, and 90 RBIs.
Yeah.
Maybe 100. I mean, you got to think it's when you've got Harper, Schwarber,
Right.
Castellanos,
A lot of
Hoskins,
mouths
all
to
these
feed.
guys, it's going to be really hard for them all to drive in 100 plus runs. So 85, 95 RBIs. He's on pace to hit like 17 or 18 home runs, and that's if he gets hot. You know what I mean? He's on pace to get to maybe 75, 80 RBIs, and that's if he gets hot. So it's kind of disappointing, but I think last night was another step in the turning the corner. I want to address you brought up Brandon
and
Marsh.
real quick, all will be forgiven with those numbers if he does heat up during this playoff run.
And he's the type of guy that not only could heat up, but you could put this entire team on his
And he'll
big
feed
shoulders
off
and
of
back.
it.
Yeah,
He'll feed
everybody
off
will
of
feed
it.
off. Absolutely,
Yeah.
because people seem to like him as well.
Mhm.
And when a player's struggling and then he gets hot and the team likes that guy and like he's not a leader of the team, but one of the big names of the team, it definitely trickles down big
sure.
time. So Brandon Marsh last night, whew, man,
Yeah.
I was watching that. I watched that play live. I was in between doing different things at the shop last night. I saw the play live. Oh my gosh, shit, he broke his leg or he blew out his ACL. Like the way he came down, I saw the Gordon Hayward, breaking of his leg or the Paul George, and I just saw it. And memories of me breaking my leg just popped into my head,
Yeah.
and that's what I thought. And the way he was wreathing in pain, I'm like, my employee was like, "Oh, it's an ACL tear." I'm like, "Dude, you're not in that much pain if you tear your ACL because ACL tears just pop; they don't hurt as much." I'm like, "This guy's done." Early reports late last night were said a bone bruise, which if that happens, that's great. That could be a very short, time missing him. I don't know what your initial thoughts are on Brandon Marsh since he's been here, but I've been impressed with what he's got, the work he's putting in. You can already see some slight tweaks in his swing. And no offense to Matt Vierling, I'd much rather have Brandon Marsh out there every day than Matt Vierling, even every other day. So Brandon Marsh going down with Schwarber not still around, which they're saying that there's a good chance that Schwarber will be back by Friday. He's been available to pinch hit all these games. Losing Brandon Marsh for a long time, in my opinion, would be a pretty big loss.
No, I agree, and I think he's been good since he's gotten here in Philadelphia. Like obviously, you see the speed and the glove out in center field. He covers a ton of ground out there, especially when you're playing between like a Schwarber and Castellanos pair on the corners. Like you have to cover a lot of ground in center field, and he's been able to do that. But then just in terms of being a hitter, like did people think he was going to come in and immediately improve and he'd be up to a 230 by this point? No, I think he ticked up from a 226 to a 228 already. He's averaging almost a hit per game. He had one last night in his first at bat. And you mentioned the little tweaks. You already see a difference in the mechanics and the swing if you just put them side by side from his time with the Angels. And that's everything because they mentioned how they saw the potential. They mentioned how they thought they could fix him, and they're already working on that within the first 2 weeks he's here. He's had an impact. He scored runs. He's driven in a run. That big come from behind win against Alcantara, he was a part of that comeback. So he's been nothing but good. The guys seem to like him. And yeah, it is a bit of a blow if he has to miss a lot of time, especially if you're still missing Schwarber and Harper. But like you said, initial reports are bone bruise. That never means that's what it is. But if it is, that's fantastic. And what would you a week and a half, maybe?
Yeah, maybe. And let's remember, we're going to get Kyle Schwarber back. It seems like Friday is
series,
for the Mets series. He should be back, which is great. And I'm okay with them resting Schwarber the way they have him available. I think he pitched hit once in the Mets series.
Yeah.
So it means it's not that serious if they're letting him pinch hit. Rob Thompson spoke yesterday. Bryce Harper, by Monday or Tuesday next week, will go down to begin his rehab assignment. So there's a chance we're going to see Bryce Harper
the last week
by September 1st at the latest.
Yeah.
Maybe like the 29th, 30th of August. At first, it seemed like he was trending to play right field. Now it seems like he's going to be back to just DHing for the rest of the year. But you think about it, this team is still trending in the right direction. You're about to get Schwarber back, your leadoff hitter. And I know Bryson Stott's done well in the leadoff spot, not last night, but overall, getting Schwarber back in that leadoff spot would be huge. Getting Bryce Harper back, in a week and a half would be huge. This team is trending in the right direction for sure.
No, 110%. And I think, man, I really do think people are forgetting how much better this team can get to, another level that this team can get to, right? Like, we're all super pumped about the last month or so of baseball and what they've been able to accomplish. But I think some of that comes from the fact that they are shorthanded and, oh my God, they're doing this shorthanded. And we're forgetting exactly what this lineup, like, dude, if the bullpen's this good and 4 or the 5 starters are this good and you insert Schwarber and Harper, and then obviously when Marsh is a full go, knock on wood, and you had this lineup to go with that, oh my God. But I'm not trying to get ahead of myself, and I'm not saying where they can get to or not get to in the postseason, but I give them a puncher's chance against anybody.
100%. And it starts with a guy that's going today. We got an early game, 12:35 today. Ranger. Big game against, hold on. Nick Lodolo.
I haven't been able to tell you a single one of the Red starters.
Nick Lodolo. I looked it up. He walks a shit ton of guys. His last 3 starts, he's gone about 100 pitches each and not finished 5 innings. Walks, hits, runs. So it means he's going to go 10 innings today and have a 10-inning complete game shutout. No. All joking aside, what would you like to see? Because I think this thread for today's game is very important. Ranger Suarez on Friday night went step for step with Max Scherzer. Not proved completely, but showed what you were talking about, that he's the number 3 pitcher in this rotation. What does he have to do? He can't do that against the Mets and then have a step back tonight. He needs to come back today and be just as dominant against this Reds team, if not more dominant. I think he only went, 5 or 6 innings against the Mets. We need to see another 6 innings or even 7 innings against this bad Reds offense. Is that what you need to see from him today to continue that confidence in Ranger Suarez?
That's the word. Dominate, right? Go out there and dominate this bad, poor lineup that the Reds have. Dude, they again, I think Ben Davis said it last night. This team's packed it in. Like, or Ricky Bo said, one of them said it. Like, this team they are on
Otto making 5 outs on 5 pitches.
Yeah, this team is on cruise control. They've packed it in the rest of the way throughout this regular season. They still got a ways to go, so that's tough for them and their fan base. But yes, you cannot have that performance you had in playoff atmosphere. Help your team get a huge win on Friday night, going step for step with Max Scherzer on the road in playoff atmosphere, and then turn around in Cincinnati when your team has a chance for a sweep again and not dominate this team. When I say dominate, I don't mean a shutout. I don't mean 8 innings, no runs, but no more than 2 runs given up from Ranger today through like 7. Bullpen comes in, closes it down. So I expect big things from Ranger today. And like you said, I do think he is the number 3 in this rotation. And this is another stepping stone to kind of for him to solidify that heading into a postseason run where, all right, we know who our top 2 are, but this is what I can do against good and bad teams. So, yeah, I think he has to dominate today.
I think he needs to dominate today. What I want to see from him, because we've seen this year him have trouble getting through 5 or 6 innings. He gets that pitch count up quickly. we joked about, Joey Votto, but you think about it, Noah Syndergaard was like 77 pitches going into the 8th inning. Excuse me. Kyle Gibson, I think he had under 100 pitches last night. He went 7 innings. I need to see Ranger Suarez be aggressive and get quick outs. Even if he strikes out a bunch of guys, he should be able to get through this lineup with minimal pressure on his arm. I don't want to see 25 pitch innings and things like that.
Against this lineup, you shouldn't.
You should. And that is something I want. I don't care if he gives up 0 runs or 2 runs. I don't care if we win 10-1 or 4-3. I want to see him be an aggressive pitcher today. And to me, that's really important.
Oh, it's a good point too, because it's Gibson brought that up last night about how aggressive the Reds were in the box against Syndergaard the other night, and that's why his pitch count was low, and that's why they had the game plan to bring out the slider and the curve a lot more last night. And kind of he thought at first they would be a little more patient, and through the first 2 or so innings, the Reds batters weren't so patient, so he kept attacking them in the zone, and that led to all the strikeouts. The Reds aren't going to be patient. They're going to try to get out ahead in counts on Ranger Suarez. So guess what? Take advantage of this bad lineup, and you could see another 6-inning, 82 pitch, and then he's good to go for the 7th, possibly the 8th inning today. It's at 12:30 or 12:35.
Yeah, it was 12:35 listed on the ESPN.com website right now. Just I think originally it was scheduled at 1, but I think at some point in the last week or so they adjusted it to 12:30. One final thing on the Phillies here before we move on: Bryson Stott in that leadoff spot. He's done pretty well. I mean, his average is up to over 220 now, even with his 0 for 6 last night. Once Schwarber comes back, in my opinion, you got to put him in the leadoff spot again. But do you think there's a chance or an option that Bryson Stott might be the leadoff hitter of the future for this team with what you've seen in the last week in that role? Because you would think a young kid like Bryson Stott, he's had an up and down season. You thrust him because of an injury into a spot he's never done. It's kind of one of those situations where he kind of thrived in it. And maybe in the future you could put Schwarber in the 3, 4, 5 hole wherever you got to put him. What are your thoughts? Do you think Bryson Stott's got what it takes to be a leadoff hitter for this team in the future?
It's fun. If you asked me 2 months ago, I would have laughed at your face from from what I had been seeing from him, hitting 195 all year. He's been very, very good since the All-Star break. Like, I know people are looking at the numbers for the last 2 weeks. He's been insanely good since the All-Star break. And when you talk about his ability to make contact and just hit he just hits singles, dude. Like every day, you're not going to see the power numbers. He's not going to rope a ton of doubles. He is a guy that just every day you see one right over the shortstop head, right up past the pitcher, right over the second baseman's head. He's a spray chart all over the middle of the field. And with that speed, yeah, it makes for a good leadoff hitter. And Schwarber isn't your typical leadoff guy, and I like him there from what he's been able to do this year and from what I've seen out of the lineup. But maybe next year, if Stott keeps this up, you do tinker with it.
I think it's an interesting thought process there to do. Do you have a Phillies pregame live? Because if not, we'll get predictions on today's game.
I do not. I have to run out, so okay. I will not be around.
So let's get some predictions on it. I obviously see the Phillies coming out and winning. Foot on throat. Another series sweep for the
juice.
Team. The juice. You got to keep it flowing. I'm going to go somewhere in the neighborhood of 7-2. Phillies win the game today.
Like it. I'm going to go. Damn, I like that 2 number. I'll give the Reds 2. I'll go fighting 5. I'm going to temper the expectations a little bit, but I think they do hit today.
Okay. And then we got big Mets series this weekend. We'll break that down tomorrow. We'll break that down on Friday as we get closer to it. 4 games in 3 days. We avoid Scherzer. We avoid DeGrom. They haven't actually even announced their starters for Saturday yet.
No, but they're supposed to avoid them.
Yeah, they are supposed to avoid them. That should be good. All right, let's move on here. Sixers. I'm getting an echo. Are you hearing the echo? I don't know what's going on.
No, I'm good.
You're good. All right. Sixers. Some schedule information being leaked lately. A couple days ago, they leaked that the Sixers would be playing at Madison Square Garden on Christmas Day. I think that's a huge opportunity. But you're starting to see some things leak out. Home opener for the Bucks is the Sixers. We got the Celtics early in the season. The last game of the season against the Nets. The NBA is strategically putting the Sixers in big moments on big TV, time. Kind of tells me that the league knows that the Sixers are their big ticket item this year. That the Sixers, Joel Embiid, James Harden, and what they've put together there is going to be big time. Is that how you see that and read that? Because that's what I kind of feel, especially getting Madison Square Garden on Christmas. Not even the early game, one of the later games. That the NBA wants the ratings, and that's why they're putting the Sixers there. Bucks. You want the Sixers on the Bucks home court to open up their season. People are going to tune in to watch that series or that game. I kind of see it as the league wants to capitalize on the money that they can make on the Sixers team.
I think it just means they're high on them in terms of what they'll be as a product, like you mentioned. And you mentioned the Celtics game, dude. That means, from what I'm pretty sure of, the Sixers are the opener of the season. They are one of the 2 doubleheaders on opening night in the NBA, and the other game is an LA game, which all would assume that's the 10 p.m. game or the 9:30 game. So that would mean Celtics Sixers kicking off the season. And then you mentioned the next game is Milwaukee, Christmas Day in the Garden. James Harden, the one leaking that Christmas in the Garden, he said. Yeah. They've already announced 2 of what Ben Simmons coming back to Philly in November. The final game of the season is in Barclays against the Nets. It just, to me, it doesn't necessarily mean they think the Sixers, are contenders by that, but I think it means they'll be a fun, entertaining product on the floor that people are going to want to tune in to see. And then I believe that they're contenders. So you're damn right. It's going to be exciting for what they have in store.
I kind of saw somebody else. I don't even know if this person had a picture on their profile on Twitter. Somebody tweeted something out. Somehow it made it past my line, and I was thinking about it. And the NBA, it's all about money. All sports leagues are all about money. There's that little sliver of hope for us that Kevin Durant becomes a Sixer. Mm-hmm. Do you think the NBA has a little bit more knowledge that maybe Kevin Durant's coming to Philly, and they want Kevin Durant, James Harden, Joel Embiid that opening game for the league season? I saw somebody tweet that. I'm like, that's a good point.
You know what? I saw a tweet as well. The Windhorst thing right before the Gobert trade, and he was on ESPN saying, what does that mean? Like, watch what's going on in Utah. What does that mean? That whole thing, and they made it into a meme and all. Someone used that for, like, they broke it down, and it was like KD linked to six, blah, blah, blah. And then it's just Windhorst going. And then it said, like, how they're the opening game and in MSG for Christmas. And he goes, what does that mean? And I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Normally, Vegas, I don't know if there's any updated odds, because, they do that at times. I don't know if they have Kevin Durant trade odds at the moment, but Vegas is normally pretty spot on. So we'll see what happens there. But
do you think, honestly, if he does not get traded? I mean, I know he tweeted out the other day that he's not going to retire. The people that are saying that are stupid, whatever. Do you think Kevin Durant's the type of player that if he doesn't get his wish and gets traded, that he'll sit out, kind of like Ben Simmons did last year? Because I don't even see Kevin Durant as the type of player that would do that. I think he'll put his flag in the sand, say I want to trade it, and he might even sit out a couple of weeks of training camp or practice. But by game 1, if he doesn't get traded, he'll be on the court for the Nets game 1.
See, I view it a little differently. I don't think he's Ben Simmons-esque. I don't think he will not show up. I don't think he'll do any of that. I think he might pull one out of James Harden's little book. My leg's hurting. I can't play. I'm not. So he'll be on the bench. I don't see him playing. And dude, in this day and age, I don't see a way where he stays a Brooklyn Net this season. Like, all the stuff that's transpired, not only just him saying, I want out, trade me, but given the ultimatum of them having to decide between him and then the GM and the head coach that he hand selected when he came to Brooklyn, that's a problem, right? And in this time period of NBA basketball, like, the NBA the players have the most power of any sport. They get to where they want to get to 99% of the time. And I just don't see where you have Kevin Durant, a top 3 player in the world, not getting to where he wants to get to. I know it's ultimately going to come down to the Nets. I know he's got multiple years left on his deal. It's not a 1-year type of thing, but these players get to where they want to get to, and I just cannot foresee him sticking around in Brooklyn. I'm not saying the place he wants is Philly. It could be Boston. It could be wherever, but I think he gets to where he wants to go. I really believe that at this point, because too much has been said in Brooklyn for them to mend what really happened there.
I think they're fair points. Did you see the reports of what Kyrie Irving was asking for in his contract before he decided to opt in?
No.
That he wanted a max of 60 games put into his schedule.
I did see that, and then I think, like, Scoop B said, like, it's not true or whatever. So it might just be rumors. But
Kyrie Irving, I believe it.
Exactly. If there's one person I believe Yeah.
The shit show that Brooklyn has become. You think you had James Harden, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving. They played what, like 16 games together.
Yeah, remember when James Harden was the problem?
Yeah, yeah. James Harden was definitely the problem.
Yeah.
100%. I can't get the thought out of my head of the Kevin Durant come to Philly right now. I just can't get it out. I rushed to get it's not hanging up right now because I wore it the other day. I rushed to get my James Harden jersey. And let me tell you something. I'm gonna be rushing even faster to get that Kevin Durant jersey if he shows up here in Philly.
Phil's gonna buy one in every color every jersey they offer.
Kevin Durant is man, even when he was still in Oklahoma City, I was such a fan of that team in Oklahoma City, just because everything from their coach Scott Brooks to Durant, I just loved them. I don't know.
Hey man, I'm with you. Sell your soul to the devil for it.
Dude, I would sell my soul to the devil for much less than Kevin Durant. But can we just stop the show right there?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's. All right. So that's enough Sixers talk. We're going to continue that topic as the days and weeks go on. Eagles. We really didn't get to talk too much Eagles yesterday because we were talking Eagles with Neil Coulong, and we were getting all his thoughts in on a lot of different topics, Jalen Hurts and the team as a whole. Something that we didn't get to talk about yesterday. In Howie, we trust. JJ Arcega-Whiteside got traded to Seattle, of all places, where DK Metcalf played.
It's ironic, isn't it?
Yeah, that's really ironic that that's where he goes. For Ugo Amadi, somebody that no one probably heard of before he was traded to Philly. The Eagles then did make some of their roster cuts, and like Jimmy Moreland and a couple other guys kind of shows that this Udali or Umali
Ugo.
or whatever. Ugo Omahi or Amadi. I can't say his name, dude. He is going to make the team because basically you could tell after the first couple cuts, he could play slot, he could play cornerback, he could do a lot of different things. He'll probably make the team as one of the last players on this roster. First off, before we say anything, can we give, yes, as George is saying, say it again and louder. Can we give some praise to Howie Roseman for being able to trade JJ Arcega-Whiteside for anything, not just cutting, trading him?
Yeah. I don't know how he did it. I don't know how he found a trade partner for him. I don't know, man. But here's where it takes me, right? Here's where my mind went. I know it's a year prior, but it shows me that they're starting to be able to move on from their mistakes. That's a mistake. Everyone knows that. You can scream the DK comp and what should have happened in that draft from the mountaintops all you want. But the fact that they were able to move on from this dude who's just been nothing but a net negative since his time here, and it's just kind of this dark cloud hanging over this team. It shows me that they were able to move in the right direction, admit it was a mistake, move on from it. You think he makes the team? Dude, I have no idea. You mentioned he plays nickel, slot, he could play a little safety, I've heard. Great. I've heard he doesn't play any of them too damn well. I think he was 116th out of 117th ranked cornerbacks last season. Are you kidding me? Jimmy Moreland someone's not better than that?
Well, Jimmy Moreland is hurt. So they're hoping he clears waivers and then can get picked back up and put on Eagles IR or whatever the list is. So that's the plan with Jimmy Moreland. But whatever his injury is, it's serious enough that they don't think he could be ready for the start of the season. So they're trying to work something out there with him. If he could trade JJaw though, can he trade Reagor? Can he get us a second round pick from somebody for Jalen Reagor?
A second. Good luck, bro.
Yeah, good luck is right. Not necessarily as it stands. The players escalating factors. Got to count towards. Yeah. Okay, so that's that. Yeah, I don't know. When I saw it, I mean, I think everybody was just as stunned as I was that he was able to move him for anything. I just think it's
just weird, man. Like just middle of the day news.
I feel bad because Arcega-Whiteside seemed like an all right dude. He had some skill. I mean, he played at Stanford. Okay, yeah, he wasn't a second round pick. He bombed as that, but he was a top 3-4 round projected wide receiver in the NFL. You don't get to that point in your career without having some skills. He was just in a bad spot on a team that just overvalued him, and we know how it is when people get overpicked. Man, I feel bad for the guy.
I want to agree with you, but when your job is to catch a football, we should probably just catch a football. And when it's drop after drop after drop, Phil, his last target in an Eagles uniform in the preseason game was a drop on an open pass on a sit-down route.
It was kind of thrown behind him.
Oh, my God.
Come on. It was like it touched his hands. I always say if the ball touches your hands, I don't care where it is, you got to catch it. But it was behind him a little bit.
Yeah, it was slightly. It was
hurt his body
him.
21 degrees, and to catch it,
Yeah.
But I just think, George saying that, they both would have been cut by their respective teams, so it's kind of a, face saving for it. That very well may be the case. But you got a guy that was 100% not making the team. Now you've got a guy that maybe he makes the team. Let's be honest. There's a lot of question marks. I got the depth charts up right now for the Eagles as of now with the current cuts that have been made and Ugo on it and all. There is not much depth at safety. There is not much depth at cornerback that we could trust for sure. You got Slay, you got Maddox, you got Bradbury, you got McPherson, you got Ugo, you got Josh Joby, you got Josiah Squat, you got Tay Allen, you got, I don't know how to say his name, Andre Shashir, or however you say his name, and Reed Blankenship. None of those guys have ever done anything in last year or in camp this year to really set themselves apart. So the guy Ugo has a shot to really make the team because he can play multiple positions. So it is saving face, but you're getting rid of a guy that had zero shot here for a guy that maybe can beat out Reed Blankenship for the last spot. You know what I mean? And, that might be a good thing. You never know.
Is he related to Rodrigo Blankenship, the kicker?
No.
Dude, I don't know. The names you just read to me made me want to throw up, but
yeah, I agree with you 100%. We had Chris Franklin on the show last week.
Jesse Bates.
Jesse Bates. That is right. And he was pretty hyping up Andre Shazier, the camp he's had, to be that backup safety / cornerback because he can play multiple positions. He hyped up, said he's been looking pretty good in camp. But honestly, when we're talking about the third string safety or whatever, that's a problem. The Eagles are heading to Cleveland. They headed yesterday. They got the joint practice going on before their next preseason game and stuff like that. I love the footage from these joint practices, whoever we're playing against in these joint practices, because you get the protection of practice with some of the action of a preseason game. And I think it's the best of both worlds. I think you learn a lot. You get more from the starters.
Yeah, it's one-on-one.
Yeah, versus the preseason game where they get one drive. I'm kind of intrigued to see how they match up against this Cleveland Browns team this weekend over the course of the next 3-4 days as they practice together and stuff. Are you a fan of these joint practices?
Yeah, well, I like them a lot better than what you see in a preseason game. You do get more, even though we can't watch it live like we can in a preseason game. You understand that a little bit more meaningful football is being played. And, there's going to be video, there's going to be reports coming out. That's the beautiful thing. One of the beautiful things about social media against the other 100 negative things there is. But, yeah, because like I said, it's more ones-on-ones. It's mano-a-mano type of corner number one. It might be Denzel Ward versus A.J. Brown, and he gets a different look than Slay or Bradbury, et cetera, et cetera. And I think, as long as there's no big brawls breaking out and someone gets hurt or there's fines or whatever, I'm all for the joint practices. But we do know sometimes those tensions can skyrocket.
Yeah, absolutely. But I look at it like someone like Jalen Hurts. He got 6 passes on Friday night. He's going to get a lot of looks
now
somebody else's defense this week.
Now, I do want to say, again, it is going to be nice to see how they look against a good, because the Browns have a good defense if their ones are out there.
Their offense has got question marks with Watson and quarterback and all. But yes, they have a very good defense.
So it will be somewhat telling, and it'll be cool to see. But a certain WIP person has been on Twitter all week talking about how this is a huge test to see where the Eagles are offensively. Bo, are you joking? It's a huge test. The joint practice on August 17th is a huge test to see what the Philadelphia Eagles are offensively. Oh, my God.
Yeah, no, it's not a huge test. It's exciting. It's good practice. It's better practice.
Phil,
but it ain't a good test.
he's published about 4 tweets of it.
Yeah, I
Hurts his
haven't. You know,
yo. By the way, I know he's like joking and he's just excited, but I absolutely love my man George on Twitter after that preseason game, because if there's anybody that's getting excited for this team now, it's my man across the pond.
I love it.
I love it, bro. Oh man.
Oh, I thought you were
Yeah.
like, oh man. Oh, okay.
Oh, mine did?
Yeah,
Oh,
no.
my
The way
Wi-Fi.
you said, "Oh man," I was
Oh.
like, I was waiting for 3 more words to come
Oh,
out,
no.
and then you just stopped. You just
He
like,
has
you had
my
a joke
attention,
there.
Jerry. He's got mine too, man. I'm in the same boat as you.
Hey, I mean, we haven't done a show together since that game. I mean, he looked great in those. I mean, preseason, yes, Jets, yes, but he checked a lot of boxes of improvement off.
Right. It just can't get discounted completely, Phil, because again, I'm with you. It's preseason, it's the Jets defense, it's one series. Got it. But what if he looked bad? People would be freaking out from the rooftops in this city if he looked bad. But because he looked really good, perfect to us, literally perfect, it's preseason, it's the Jets. You're right. It is just preseason and the Jets in one series, but it's a positive.
Yeah.
It is a positive. Dude, that one throw, like the touchdown pass was a great read, a great design play, had nice touch on the ball. Boom, got it. The one throw where he rolls out to his right and he hits, was it Quez? Yeah, it was Quez for the toe tap. Dude, that was about a 20-yard pass down the sideline on a rope over 2 defenders' outreached hands. That's a tough throw to make.
It is, but there was something bigger, in my opinion, that came from that play. And I did it on Monday when we were trying to break down the film. I'm going to get better at it, I promise. He could have ran. There was about 10 yards of space in front of him. He could have taken off, gotten 8 to 10 yards the first down, stepped out of bounds even to protect himself in a preseason game, but he chose to throw it downfield. And that, to me, even if that pass got dropped or maybe it was a little off target, if it just say it did, just the fact that he was willing to let it rip there, to me, was more than, anything.
Yeah, no,
so
I'm with you. And they used the middle of the field. I forget who he hit on a crossing route at the one point. Just there were nothing but positives. There wasn't one thing I can really point to and be like, you know what, I wish he didn't do that or he did this wrong. You can't really say that about the one series you saw from them. And another thing that stood out to me, again, one freaking series, but the way he distributed the ball. And we heard all training camp about how it's the AJ Brown show. It's the AJ Brown show. It was Dallas Goedert. It was Quez Watkins. I think he dropped one off to Miles Sanders at one point. Like, he did a very good job at spreading the ball around. That it was very nice to see.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we gotta have a little fun here to end this show here. Oh man, I was looking something up. I'm missing all these comments here. It's interesting to see him not hit AJ Brown once. Yeah, absolutely.
He will.
Yeah, he will. Don't you worry about that. But it also goes to show why I predicted that I don't think anybody will have 1,000 yards on this team, because every game he is going to take the looks that the defense gives him and spread it around to whoever happens to be open. On that Dallas Goedert touchdown, AJ Brown was double covered, and so he found the wide open Dallas Goedert. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how the ball gets spread around.
Yep,
Right,
I agree.
real quick. Scotty shared something in the group chat, the DSM group chat yesterday. And it's the documentary that I did not know I wanted to see. I didn't know I needed to have made, but just on the preview of it, the documentary I have to watch. And it's on Netflix. It dropped, I think, yesterday or 2 days ago. It's the Manti Te'o story documentary. I kind of forgot all about Manti Te'o. I obviously pushed it off. Haven't thought about him in years. But boy, Netflix, first off, Netflix does not do bad documentaries. Every documentary I've ever watched on any topic, whether I pick it or Melissa picks it or somebody recommends it, they're always well produced and put together. Are you interested in watching the Manti Te'o documentary?
Oh, dude, how can you not be after the clip they put out? That little trailer had to have caught everybody's attention.
Absolutely.
Everybody, if even like, because here, put it this way, dude. Like, we as sports fans, we remembering Manti Te'o, we're going to check it out. But think about just the drama people, the people that like drama and all that stuff. They're going to watch it. Like, it's basically a catfishing documentary on an NFL player who was highly touted. Yeah. And the only thing I hope, and I saw a tweet about that kind of hinted towards it. George said, I don't know if George's going to be watching it.
Come on.
I know.
We're going to watch it this weekend. We're going to do a review of it.
I have to watch it before I fully speak on it, but I hope they don't make the catfish like a victim in this documentary and make you feel bad for that. No. That person is wrong for what they did. So, but they'll try, like, they'll make you feel bad because TV shows do it all the time. The person you hate the most, they'll make you feel bad for them at the end when something bad happens to them. No, that person hurt.
Dylan,
man,
you said you've been hurt by a catfish before. Have you been hurt by a catfish before?
No, not a real big online person, Phil.
Come on, you could say it. Your girlfriend is not watching. She will not hear what you have to say. If you've been catfished at some point, you can admit it here on the air.
No, it's all right. I'm good on that one. I'm covered on that.
But I agree with you. I hope they don't make her the victim at all. I actually, honestly, when it all went down in 2012 or whatever, I kind of felt bad for the dude. I really did.
Yeah.
Because
for some reason, I forgot the situation. Like, first, when someone had texted me that they were making the documentary, or that it was being released on Netflix. For some reason, I remembered it that he like made up this girlfriend and said that she died or something, and that was the big story. But that wasn't it. I misread. I forgot what the actual story was.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what we all thought it was for a while.
Yeah,
and then more details came out about it. The dude was, a naive young man, and it happened to the best of us, except for Dylan and me. But I'm sure others haven't happened to them. Luckily for me, online dating was not a thing back when I was young. So, or maybe I would have fallen for the catfish.
Phil, that would be amazing.
What if I fell for a catfish?
Oh yeah.
Why?
Just show up at a park, and it's just
some 7-year-old
who you were expecting
next to me.
Nah, that would be awesome.
No, it would be not awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to watch it this weekend at some point, and we are going to break this down at some point next week on the show.
All right, I'll watch it this weekend then too.
We might have to do like a special DSM media catfish Manti Te'o episode at some random moment because
I did one. What was the Jordan documentary? Why am I drawing a blank on the name?
The Jordan documentary?
Yeah.
I don't even remember what it's called. I haven't even finished watching it. I've only gotten through the 2 episodes of it.
Bro.
I just don't have time to watch
The Last Dance. The Last Dance.
Yeah.
I did that. I did one of those on a podcast before, and it was pretty cool. But it would be a little different to talk about Manti Te'o's catfish, but still.
Exactly.
We're gonna be on here like, can you believe what she did?
All right. We're gonna wrap Trending in the AM up here for the day. We'll be back live tomorrow morning. Dylan will be back. We'll be talking about a big Phillies win. And who knows what else? Maybe there'll be a new documentary on somebody else that comes out. You never know. That we have to talk about.
Yeah.
Everybody have a great day. Again, if you're watching on replay, make sure you hit the like button, the subscribe button. We greatly appreciate it. Follow DSM and myself and Dylan on all social media platforms. Greatly appreciate it. Everybody have a great day. Shit, I do not have my play out video ready to go.
Come on, man.
I'm not used to this yet, man. Hey, everybody have a great day. We'll be back tomorrow. Like and subscribe, guys. Go Phillies.
And Philadelphia has it.